We are 8 weeks down, the diet is over, and I'm going to, in this video, take you through everything. What we're going to go through is my data. We're going to go through the foods I ate. We're going to go through the training I did. And at the very, very end, I'm going to show you the progress I made physically. And also, I'm going to give you the biggest single tip for you to do this yourself in 2026. So guys, by the end of this video, you're going to see some pretty impressive results. But I don't want you just to focus on the physical transformation or the weight I've lost here. I want you to focus on the way I did it. So many people spend their whole life spinning their wheels when it comes to health and fitness, and especially when it comes to weight loss. And there's a good reason for that. So I want you to see the exact process I use. I want you to see how simple it actually is. And I want you to think about how you can replicate that for you in your own life. Okay, so guys, let's get stuck into the data. If you followed the journey along so far, you'll know that I've been using this tracking sheet all the way through the journey. This is the tracking sheet that I use with my clients, and I've used with the people that were doing the 8-week challenge as well. Now, the great thing about tracking sheet and data in general, tracking sheets and data in general, is that it gives you accountability to yourself, or if you have a coach, to them as well, but it also gives you objectivity. And I'm going to go through that today because it's so important to have objectivity. We can get so emotionally attached to our journey and very, very volatile emotionally throughout the journey that we need something to anchor us back to logic. And this is what the data can do for us, right? So when we started this journey, guys, I put in all my targets in here and my goals and everything else that goes with that, okay? So the goal date, and just full transparency, I'm actually recording this on the Friday before the diet ends. So the diet is actually to end on Monday. So I have a couple of actually days left, and we have a couple of nights out as well. So they aren't in this, but I'm going to talk you through how we've actually planned in advance for these, and I'm going to talk you through everything up to now so far. So my starting weight was 167 pounds. My goal weight was to get to roughly 158 to 160. I'm going to talk you through that because I've hit that pretty easily already with still a couple of days to actually go with this, okay? So the 8-week goal, obviously, so it's 15th of December, so that's 3 days from now. My goal calories were between 2100 and 2200. My goal protein was 160 plus. Our steps was 13,000. Cardio was 2 soccer per week. And then gym was 3 upper and 1 rehab per week. Okay. So I'm going to take you into the daily tracker. Now, this is what I've used all the way along, as you probably know, because if you followed my previous videos. So we started at 76.6 kgs, which was the weight I had talked about in the last one, so about 168 pounds or something like that. So through these 8 weeks, I have got to week 8 now, and I've hit a low weight this week of 71.4. So that's a drop of 5.2 kgs. So it's about 11 or 12 pounds. So I've hit my target. 12 pounds, 11, 12 pounds within 8-week period, okay, which is pretty decent. You'll see coming up to these last couple of weeks, guys, because I haven't done a video in the last couple of weeks, my calorie intake has stayed pretty stable. A big mistake people make is thinking you need to drop your calories way down every week because your body adapts. Your body doesn't adapt that much. It adapts a little bit. But if you take care of your steps and you don't let them drop, because that's how your body adapts, it might make you move less, or you might subconsciously do less activity. But if you take care of them numbers and you know that they're actually consistent, your body won't adapt that much. Your metabolism doesn't drop off that much. The only thing that changes week to week is consistency. And I know that's hard for some people to hear, but it's your consistency you need to look at, not whether your body's adapting and you need to drop your calories lower. My calories stayed pretty consistent throughout. 21 to 2200 calories all the way through. Now, there was obviously some nights out. We had a couple of cinema dates. We had a couple of nights out. We had a couple of dinners out. I had sushi day out here. We had drinks the next day. I had a lot of soccer matches. So there's a lot of noise around this journey. So it wasn't straightforward. It wasn't just everything was perfect and it was easy and I just locked in for 8 weeks. There's always going to be things that are going to come up. And for you, it's understanding that that's okay, but it shouldn't take you away from the overall overarching goal here, is to stay as consistent as you can for the duration of however long you're in the deficit. Okay, so I did not stay perfect to this. I'm going out for drinks tonight. I'm going to be eating out tonight. So that in itself isn't perfect, but it doesn't need to be. We just need to do pretty good most of the time and always reset quickly in order for things to work, because your calories will balance out. So you'll even see here, last weekend I had 200 or 2,700 calories. The weekend before I had 2,800 calories. The weekend before I had 2,500 calories. and so on. 2,700 calories, 4,000 calories up here. So there was loads of days where I overate. Now, some of these days were because I wanted to actually fuel for soccer, but a lot of them were because we had dinners out, we had drinks, and so on. But it balances itself out. If you can stay consistent on the other days, the calories will balance themselves out. So there's no worries with that. So this is where the objective data is so important, guys. And you'll see throughout this whole process, because it was 8 weeks and I wanted to get there efficiently, and I would always recommend you doing this if you're new to this, because I didn't have to do this, but I wanted to illustrate how it would work. But I've basically put everything in here so I can look back over and see if I wasn't progressing, for example, I could say, okay, well, there's reasons I'm not hitting my targets. I was out 3 nights in a row this week and another night this week. So I can understand then what's going on. So there's always going to be different trends and patterns that we can assess if we have the data. If we don't have the data, you have nothing to go off of. So you're just guessing. And again, a lot of that just comes out of emotion. So if you're emotional and guessing, it's not good. You're going to end up just quitting. And that's where most people go wrong. They don't have a plan that's solid enough, first of all, but they also don't have the accountability and the data to back it up to help them to overcome the tough days. So that's why most people are so inconsistent and never see the results they want to see. So what you'll see here this week, so today's Friday, 12th. So basically I've just guesstimated, and this is a really good tip for you as well, guys, right? I'm going out tonight for dinner and drinks. Now, I've estimated that I might have 6 Guinness and chicken fillet dinner with chips, right? So I've estimated maybe about 2,500 calories between the Guinness and the dinner. It might be more. I could end up having more, but the point is, it's not a big deal, because even with the calories I'm eating throughout the day as well, I still would probably be between 3,400 and 4,000. So if you average that over the week, so let's just say these 2 days, now whether they be higher or lower, I don't know, but these next 2 days, if I get back to normal, then my average calories for the week are still only 2,200 calories. So I'm well in a deficit for the week. So one day doesn't ruin anything. It's when a day spirals, that's when most people have a lot of struggles. Okay, so you can see all the data. It's been pretty consistent. Steps pretty consistent. Gym pretty consistent. And overall, it's just been the consistency that's helped me. It hasn't been every day, but it's been a lot of the days. And I talked about this with my clients at the start. You don't have to win every day. You just need to win a lot of the days. So if you can win 70% of the days, you're going to progress. Obviously, the more days you win, the more progress you're going to see in a shorter period of time, but it doesn't matter. And especially if you're in no panic to get your end goal, then take your time with it. There is no rush. This is the big mistake people make. They try to rush things too much and they try to go for perfection and they end up burning out. So quick little thing I want to show you before we finish this part out. So here is the trend of my weight, right? And what you'll see, guys, with this is there's always a compounding effect. So at the start, you'll see a big drop. And then for a couple of weeks here, you see that there was no change at all. And a lot of people give up at this stage. They think, it's not working. I lost a bit of weight, but now it's stopped. And they don't actually stay consistent. But the thing with this is you will have fluctuations in weight, and especially females, because your menstrual cycle, especially if you're going out and changing your routine a lot. So if you're a shift worker, for example, your weight's going to be all over the place because you have a different sleep pattern and you're eating different times of the day. So there's a lot that goes into weight that's nothing to do with your fat loss. Fat loss is very, very slow and steady. When we get to the end of this video, I'll show you my body changes as well, because it'll show you week to week how it doesn't look like there's much change. But by the end, when you put the two pictures together, it's drastic. And it's kind of like, how did that happen? But it's a compound effect. And the same thing goes for body fat loss. We don't want to get too caught up in the weight week to week because there's so much noise that has nothing to do with your body fat. We want to just keep tipping away with the calorie deficit, knowing that underneath the hood, our body fat is dropping, and that body fat will compound and compound and compound, and eventually the weight in the scales will show as well. So there was weeks where it was basically the same, then a drop, then a drop, then a drop, pretty much the same, then a drop. So there's a lot that goes into it, and this is me being pretty consistent. There was other journeys in the past where I wouldn't have been as on it if it wasn't as long, if the diet wasn't as short. So within this, I was a little bit more on it. So that's why the weight looks a little bit more linear, but it's okay if it's not this linear as well. For some of my clients, there's like up and down all around, but within our group, we lost over 11 stone cumulatively between the whole group of the 8-week challenge. That's crazy, but it's all consistency, and they all did it through just simple planning, consistency in their effort, and just not spiraling. resetting quickly, not spiraling. Simple stuff. But for some of my clients, their weight was a little bit more up and down, but it was always trending in the right direction over the 8 weeks. And that's all that matters for us. So this is all I wanted to show you with the data, guys. Now we're going to get into how exactly I actually achieved the goal. Okay, so guys, now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of how I actually did this. So what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to talk you through the 4 key pillars of this whole process: the food, the training, the movement, and the mindset. So let's kick this off with the food, because I think that's the area most people want to know the most about. So we have a simple nutrition method we use within our program with all our clients. It's called the 80-20 Enjoyment First Nutrition Method. So basically what this is we create a nutritional strategy for our clients so that it's easy to follow, it's not too far away from the foods they like, and 20% of the time they're fitting in treat foods, things they enjoy as well. What this meant for me was basically I was going to be eating similar foods to what I always ate, but I was going to be tracking the calories so I could quantify the amount I was eating, so I knew I was in a calorie deficit. I was going to eat 80% of the time wholesome, nourishing foods that were going to fill me, so food quality was really, really important. And then 20% of the time I was fitting in chocolate. I was going for a few pints after my soccer games. I was able to go out for dinner every so often as well. So it was a perfect ratio of hitting my targets consistently enough, but giving myself some flexibility so I also enjoyed what I was doing. Now this is really, really important, and it's where a lot of people go wrong with nutrition, because what they'll do is they'll start to plan and they'll go so far away from what they're used to that when they fall off, it's an absolute mountain to try to get back on top of it. Now, the biggest issue with this is you can't sustain it, but also you don't need to do it. You can actually get great results eating similar foods to what you're already eating, just by tweaking a few things and tightening up a small bit and making sure especially that we have the quantity in the right place. A non-negotiable for me and for my clients is learning how to track calories. Tracking calories is the single most efficient way you can get to your goals without cutting out all the foods you like. It allows you to understand how many calories are in certain foods. It allows you to make decisions based on whether the food is worth it or not. And most importantly, it allows you flexibility to fit in the food you like as well, which I did all the way through, to the point where I actually really, really enjoyed my diet throughout this last 8 weeks. Like, we were having amazing food. It was foods I will continue to eat beyond this diet. So the very last thing to mention around nutrition, which most people will miss, and it's hugely important: create a structure and plan at least one day in the week. So when I say structure, a lot of people that come to me, they don't have any eating structure whatsoever. So they might skip breakfast, they might have a few treats for lunch, they might pick throughout the day, then they'll come home, have a huge dinner, and then be snacking for the night. If this is you, you need to listen to this now. Creating a structure where you eat consistent meals at consistent times is an absolute game changer. So if you do nothing else, only that, it's going to help you be more consistent, it's going to stop you picking, and therefore you're going to be able to quantify the amount of food you're eating that much better. On top of that, in order to multiply it and make it even more impressive, I would say plan at least one day in a week. When I say plan, it doesn't mean meal prep every single thing. What that might be is maybe just write out the foods you're eating for that week. Maybe just write out the dinners you're having even for the next day. Simple things go a long way. You don't have to plan and prep everything, but having some form of an idea in your head is really useful, because it takes away the decision fatigue, especially as the week goes on, when that starts to wane. Next up, we have training. Now, I'm going to keep this very, very simple, because it is very, very simple. When it comes to training, the most important thing is you find something you can stick to. For me, I was doing 3 upper body gym sessions a week. What this allowed me to do was maintain my muscle, because when you're dieting, our body can either use fat as fuel, or it can also use your muscle. So if you don't do any resistance training whatsoever and you're dieting, you are going to lose some muscle. So it's something to consider. But when it comes to training, lots of different things work. So you could do classes, for example. You could do gym work. Pick some form of exercise, and once you enjoy it and stick to it, it's going to work to some degree. So for me, a big thing was I made sure my gym sessions, I did them at a time that suited my lifestyle, it suited my schedule, and most importantly, it felt like the best time for me to train. Because if you're constantly trying to squeeze it in, or if you're going at times where it's very hit and miss, you're only creating a resistance there that's going to stop you being consistent. It's always going to be about consistency. You're going to miss a day or two in the gym. It's normal, you're human. But the amount of days you miss is going to come down to your scheduling, planning ahead and just making sure you're fitting it in at a time that really suits you. Realistically, for most people, when it comes to weight training, you need to be doing 2 to 3 sessions a week of decent resistance exercises that you're taking close to failure. And we want to be doing a volume that's, again, going to test you, but not overdo it either. So for most people, 2 to 3 gym sessions a week is absolutely plenty, especially when you're just trying to maintain your muscle. Simple final point on this. Lots of exercises work. For my clients, I just had a conversation with one yesterday, and I took some exercises out of his program because he wasn't enjoying them and he wasn't getting a lot out of them. And I said this to him: you don't need to do them exercises. We can do that body part and we can do another exercise that's going to work equally as well. And if you enjoy it more, it's going to work better because you're actually going to want to do it. You're not going to skip it, and you're actually going to put the effort in. So try to find the exercises within reason, because there's always going to be exercises you're not going to love. We're human. But try to find the exercise program and plan that suits you, you enjoy it, and you can stay consistent and progress at it. Next up is movement. Now, this is one of the most overlooked aspects of most fat loss programs because, as I said before, people think that their metabolism slows down when they start losing weight, and then it's harder to lose weight further on. It's not true. If you can keep your output relatively stable and high, so that's your exercise and your steps, then you're going to basically be burning the same amount of calories all the way through, roughly. So what we want to do is, with steps especially, right, it's really, really powerful because it's such a low-hanging fruit. And as cliche as that might sound, for most people, you can do it anywhere. You could even do it inside in the house if you needed to get a treadmill or something, which some of my clients did. And obviously you can get out in the fresh air, which is good for your mental health as well, okay? So keeping your step in a good place is really going to help your overall consistency and output within the weight loss phase. Now, big thing with this though, be realistic. I see so many people trying to hit too many steps. You might look to mine and think, okay, you got 13,000, 15,000. But that's realistic for me because my life in general is just active. Where I live, it's active. And I actually like walking. I like getting out for walks. I'd much rather go for a walk than go for a run, for example. So I do that every day and I enjoy listening to podcasts and so on. For you, you may not be able to do that many. I'd loads of people on the program that could hit maybe 7,000 steps, 8,000 steps. And because of kids, because of weather, because of just other circumstances, they couldn't do more. So you don't have to do a crazy amount. And in fact, sometimes trying to do too many is actually a bad thing because you'd end up compensating by eating more anyway. But I would always say try to aim for at least 8,000 plus. So between 8,000 to 12,000 is a sweet spot. And that's what we want to stay consistent with. Now, another thing to look at when it comes to steps is it doesn't matter what happens on a given day. What matters is the average. How many steps are you getting on average over the course of a week, over the course of 2 weeks, over the course of a month? So hitting your steps every day, I know we like to tick boxes and hit the steps, and I'm the same. And to be fair, I always try to do that, but it's not a necessity. So if you don't hit your steps in a given day, you can make up for it over the course of a week. Now, one caveat I would say with that is, I would always say to at least try to get 5,000 or 6,000 steps because it's more the indirect effect that will have on your mental health and your mindset and the other actions you take that day that it will start to slow you down. So for example, you might, because you're not moving much on a given day, you might feel great and then you might start eating foods that aren't ideal. You might start picking at different things and you might just start feeling blah, and that impacts other things that you could be doing on that day. So try to at least get 5,000 or 6,000 steps. Finally, with the movement, you might ask the question, should I be doing cardio? Should I be doing some form of cardiovascular exercise? And I would say with this, it's not a necessity, but it is nice to do it. So if you enjoy running, for example, go for it. If you enjoy classes, go for it. If you enjoy sport, go for it. Find something you enjoy though, because if you're only doing something to lose weight, it's not going to last. And once you're finished losing weight, you're going to stop doing it, and it's just going to make you feel guilty. So for me, throughout this whole process, I was just playing soccer. So I had soccer training, I had soccer matches. But some of the clients on the 8-week challenge were dancing. They were going to classes. They were in running groups. They were dancing around the house with the kids, or whatever you need to do, playing with the kids. You can do any cardio in any way. So find the thing that you can sustain and you enjoy doing. Okay, finally, we have mindset. Now, you can partly guess that nothing else works if the mindset side of things doesn't come together. It doesn't matter about all the other stuff. If our mind isn't in the right place, we're not going to do it anyway. So we need to work an awful lot on this. So within our program, we have the all or nothing antidote. So it's basically a system we use to help our clients, especially the ones that have yo-yoed all their life, to get off the all or nothing bandwagon. So within this, what we work on is not spiraling. We work on removing the guilt and shame away from perfection and resetting as quickly as possible. The only thing that ever stops people from actually achieving their results is quitting. And the biggest reason people quit is because they think they need to be perfect, and when they're not, they beat themselves up and they give up. Within this process, you have to give yourself some leeway. You have to know you're going to make mistakes. You have to know that not every day is going to go to plan. And if you can accept that from the start, and you can aim to hit 70, 80% consistency throughout the whole process, you're going to do really, really well. And if you never give up, and if you reset really, really quickly, there'll be no stopping you. There's nothing to stop you, because you're going to have tough days. So the mindset around this basically is coming away from all or nothing, understanding how you can reset quickly, knowing that you're not going to be motivated all the time, and how can we move forward regardless. No matter how many times you get knocked down, can you keep moving forward? And can you trust the process? Can you trust the plan that you're doing? And this is where a lot of people, when they're on their own, they don't trust it. And when you don't trust something, you're waiting for it to fail. And at the first sign of failure, you quit. So guys, in a nutshell, that is literally all I did. The biggest thing that people don't talk about when it comes to fitness plans is most plans are based off of motivational approaches, where you need to be motivated all the time to do it. They're based off of punishment and extremes. They're based off of shame and guilt. They're based off of, I'll start again on Monday. So it all culminates in most people just giving up because they can't stick at something. And even if they do, they find it very, very toxic. The approach I use with myself and all my clients is a mapped out approach that people can trust. It's an approach that feels very, very calm. There's no extremes where you feel like you've made one mistake and it's ruined everything. You can actually objectively look at things and seamlessly move through the process. I would even say, and it doesn't sound great, but it's true, that it's a boring approach. But boring works because boring is sustainable and it's something you can do forevermore. So just going into the new year, think about that. For most people, you need direction and you need something to be mapped out for you. If you're just winging it and you're relying on motivation to get results, you're going to be in the exact same place in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, and it's never ever going to stick. So having a plan mapped out for you, having a direction that gets you up and excited in the morning is crucial for your long-term success in 2026. If you've stuck with me this long, we've got to the most exciting part of the video. I'm going to take you through the physical progress. As I said, this isn't the most important part. This is only the outcome based off of all the things I've just said. This journey was boring in many ways. And yes, I've got to this point, but it's from a compounded effect. So you'll even see through these pictures I'm going to put up on the screen now, that they don't even look drastic. Looking at week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4 to week 5 to week 6 to week 7 and to week 8. I haven't got my final pictures done yet, so it might even look better. But there isn't a huge drastic change. But look at the difference between week 1 and week 8. It's drastic. It's nearly a stone of body fat gone. But you don't see that day to day. You don't see that week to week. Sometimes you don't even see that month to month. Depends how quick you're going. But it's the compound effect that makes all that possible from the boring stuff. I said I would end this video giving you the biggest tip to get results like this in the new year. Now, it's more than one tip, it's 2, okay? So first thing you need in 2026 is clarity of action. What do you need to do in order to get to the goals you want to get to, assuming you know where you want to be? And then the second thing you need is an accountability to stop bullshitting yourself. And that sounds harsh, but whether it's conscious or subconscious, you are bullshitting yourself when you're not getting the results you want. So the accountability can come from a coach or it can come from yourself. But either way, you need some objectivity and accountability in order to actually progress and not just give up at the first sign of a mistake. If you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed this whole 8-week challenge. I'm hopefully going to be doing more of these in the new year. We're going to do a 6-week challenge at the end of January. If it's something you're interested in, reach out to me and let me know. Or look out for my Instagram. I will be announcing it. But just know this, guys, to finish, right? You don't need more extremes. You don't need more motivation. You just need a plan you can actually trust and follow through with.